I used to work for a small delivery service based out of Georgetown, Texas. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it paid the bills and kept me on the road, which I liked. Most of our routes were rural, long, winding drives through the countryside, past sleepy farmhouses and overgrown fields. The kind of roads that vanish off the map if you're not careful. Just two-lane blacktop cutting through miles of wheat, rusted-out fences, forgotten barns, and telephone poles that seemed to lean like they were tired of standing. The cell signal was always patchy out there, and at night, the darkness came down like a curtain. It didn't just get dark. It got thick, like something was sitting on your chest. Still, I never thought much of it. Until the night I drove through Granger. It was mid-August, 2011, hot as hell during the day. But by the time the sun dipped below the horizon, the air took on this eerie stillness. No wind, no bugs, just silence. I remember looking at the clock in the truck. It was 11:45 p.m., and I was finishing up my last delivery. Something had gone wrong earlier in the day with a delayed package, so I had to run out myself. I didn't recognize the address, but I punched it into my GPS and followed the voice down a series of smaller and smaller roads. Eventually, I found myself on County Road 336. If you're not from around there, you wouldn't know it. It's one of those roads that doesn't show up on some maps. No streetlights, no mile markers, just blacktop and barbed wire as far as the eye can see. And that's when I saw the lights. Off to the left, hovering above a wheat field that stretched for what looked like miles, there was this dull orange glow. At first, I thought it might be a drone. People fly them out here sometimes. But this one wasn't buzzing, wasn't moving. It was just hovering, completely still, maybe 20 feet off the ground, about the size of a basketball, glowing softly, like it was breathing. The color shifted from white to amber, almost like it was alive. I slowed the truck down to a crawl and rolled the window down, expecting to hear a hum or some mechanical whine. But there was nothing. No crickets, no wind. No engine sounds, just complete silence. Then, in an instant, the thing shot straight up into the sky, faster than anything I've ever seen. No arc, no sound barrier break, just gone, vanished into the stars. I remember laughing nervously. That kind of laugh you let out when your body's trying to calm you down, but your gut knows something's wrong. I told myself it was fatigue, maybe a hallucination. I'd been driving too long, not enough water, too much caffeine. But when I turned my eyes back to the road, my stomach dropped. There was someone standing in it. I hit the brakes so hard the tires screamed against the pavement, and the whole truck jerked to a stop maybe 10 feet away from the figure. Headlights lit up in that blinding, high-contrast way that makes shadows dance. And at first, I thought it was a person, maybe a farmer or someone broken down on the road. But as I stared, my brain started rejecting what my eyes were seeing. It wasn't human. It stood maybe 6.5 feet tall, but its limbs were too long, especially the arms. They hung down past its knees, thin as rebar, with these long, delicate fingers that twitched like antennae. Its skin was pale gray, almost translucent, with sheen like wet stone. No clothes, no features, just smooth flesh. And its head, it wasn't shaped right. There was no chin, no ears, no hair. Just this rounded, featureless dome. Its eyes, or it should have been eyes, were two deep, black pits. Not shiny like animal eyes. They looked like holes, like someone had punched through its skull, and you could fall into them. I don't know how else to describe it, but when I looked into them, I felt like I was staring into the bottom of a well that had no end. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. My hands were locked on the steering wheel, white-knuckled. I wanted to reverse, to drive, to scream, but my body wouldn't obey. And then, God help me, I felt inside my head. There was no voice, no words, just this overwhelming sensation that something was sifting through my thoughts like pages in a book. My memories flashed: childhood, my first kiss, the car accident when I was 16, my mom's funeral. It was like it was tasting them, picking them apart, and I wasn't in control. It was like I was watching myself from the outside. Then, just as suddenly, the thing blinked out. One moment it was there, bathed in my high beams. The next gone. No puff of smoke. No movement. Just empty road. But the sky wasn't empty. 3 lights had appeared above the wheat field. White, silent, hovering in a perfect triangle. I didn't wait. I slammed my foot on the gas, tires squealing, engine howling as I tore down the road. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest. I didn't stop until I hit I-35, and even then I kept going for another 20 miles before I pulled over at a gas station. I sat in the truck, hands shaking, trying to make sense of what just happened. I checked my phone. No signal. When it finally came back, I called my dispatcher and told him I couldn't finish the route, that I was sick. He didn't question it. 2 days later, he called me back, asked what the hell I was doing out near Granger. I told him I was delivering that last package, like he'd told me. He went silent, then said there was no delivery logged. No address. No recipient. Nothing in the system. I checked my GPS history. My route was missing. Just a blank gap from 11:43 to 12:07. Like I'd vanished. I pulled the dashcam footage. I remember watching it, praying that it would confirm something. Anything. But that stretch of video was just static. Glitched out. Everything else worked fine. I never filed a police report. Who would believe me? I didn't tell friends. Didn't even tell my girlfriend at the time. I just stopped talking about it. Until now. But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. 3 days after the incident, a man showed up at my door. Tall in a black suit. He had government vibes. Clean-cut, expressionless, no badge. He didn't introduce himself. Just looked me in the eye and said, "Do you believe in second chances?" Then he smiled, and I have never in my life felt terror like I did in that moment, because his eyes, they weren't right. They were black, just like its. Then the lights came back, 3 of them, directly above the field, evenly spaced, holding perfectly still in the sky. No blinking, no movement. They formed a perfect triangle, suspended silently over the same patch of wheat where that first orb had been floating. And the thing in the road? It didn't walk away. It didn't vanish into the field. It just disappeared. One blink and it was gone. No flash, no sound. Like reality had momentarily glitched and erased it. And in its place, nothing. Just empty road and the oppressive silence that had somehow grown even thicker. My foot slammed down on the gas before my brain even registered what I was doing. The truck roared to life, fishtailed slightly as the tires fought for grip, and then I was tearing down that country road like my life depended on it. Because at that moment, I was sure it did. I couldn't explain it, but something deep inside me was screaming to get away. That if I didn't, something was going to pull me out of the cab, and I'd never be seen again. I didn't stop. Not when I saw a deer dart across the road. Not when the truck suspension bucked from a pothole that nearly launched me into the roof. Not when my GPS started glitching and looping the same 3 directions over and over like it was stuck in a loop. I didn't slow down until I hit the I-35 on-ramp. And even then, I kept my foot heavy on the gas. I drove past the first gas station. Then the second. Only when I reached a busy stretch near Temple, with lights, cars, noise, and people, did I finally pull over. I sat there, in the parking lot of a 24-hour diner, engine idling, hand shaking. I must have stayed there for over an hour, just staring at my own reflection in the windshield. My pulse was still hammering. My skin was cold with sweat. But what I remember most was the sound, or rather, the lack of it. Even with cars passing, even with people moving around in the diner, everything still felt quiet, like something had followed me, like I hadn't really escaped. For days, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that figure, the black, bottomless eyes, the way it felt inside my head. I stopped turning off the lights at night. I kept the TV on in the background just so I wouldn't feel so alone. But it didn't help, because sometimes, in the corner of my vision, I'd see a shape, just standing there, watching, gone when I turned to face it. I tried to tell myself it was PTSD, hallucinations from stress, lack of sleep. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. The worst part wasn't the figure. It wasn't the lights. It was the call I got from my dispatcher 2 days later. He was quiet at first, like he didn't know how to bring it up. Then he asked why I had rerouted myself through Granger that night. I told him I hadn't, that the GPS had sent me. He paused, then said something I'll never forget. There wasn't supposed to be a delivery out there. Nothing scheduled. No active orders. I even checked the logs myself. That address doesn't exist in our system. I thought he was joking, or maybe covering up a clerical error. But when I went to look at my own GPS history from that night, that segment of time, from 11:43 p.m. to 12:07 a.m., was just gone, like the truck hadn't moved at all. I checked the dash cam footage, hoping at least that would confirm something, anything, but everything in that same time window was static. No audio, no visuals, just analog snow, like an old VHS that got eaten in the VCR. Every other part of the night played fine, clear as day, but that stretch, corrupted, damaged, erased. I filed a report, attached the footage. No one followed up, not a single call, not even a confirmation email. A week later, I called to ask if they'd received it, and they told me there was no record of my report in the system. No submission, no file, nothing. That was when I started to really feel afraid, not of what happened, but of what was still happening. Then, 2 weeks after the incident, a man showed up at my apartment. It was a Sunday afternoon, bright, warm, normal. I remember thinking how wrong that felt, for the world to keep turning like everything was fine. I'd been in the kitchen making coffee when there was a knock. Not the usual kind, either. It wasn't fast or impatient. It was deliberate. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, like a metronome. I opened the door to find a man standing there in a black suit. Crisp, immaculate. He had pale skin, perfectly combed dark hair, and no visible ID. No badge, no name tag. He looked out of place, like he'd stepped out of a 1950s film reel. I asked if he was with the company. He just looked at me for a long moment, then said something that made my stomach drop. "Do you believe in second chances?" I didn't know what to say. The words just hung in the air like a threat dressed as a question. Then he smiled, but it wasn't a real smile. It didn't reach his eyes, and the eyes, they weren't right. For a split second, I could have sworn they were black, not dark brown. Black, like the thing I'd seen in the road. He handed me a plain white envelope, turned, and walked away without another word. I called out to him, but he never responded, just kept walking. I opened the envelope, but it was empty. That night, I packed a bag, left Texas, and never looked back. I changed my number, deleted my social media, started using a different name for deliveries. I've never told this story to anyone in person. I don't know who or what I saw that night, but I know it wasn't human. And I know it knew me, knows me still. Because even now, years later, when I drive alone down some forgotten highway, sometimes, in the reflection of the windshield, I see a triangle of lights hanging in the sky, perfectly still, perfectly silent. And I pray they're not here for me again.